Look at that. It's almost up to my knees. It's flowing down the street here, almost exactly like a river. Scooters can't get through, but bicycles can. That's a win for the bicycle. I never imagined that this kind of flooding would happen right here. I was just sitting inside my room at the guest house looking at some video clips I shot yesterday of the flooding down by the Moei River and the Friendship Bridge. I had no idea that a flood was happening right here at my own guest house. Yeah, there it is over there. Yeah, I can really feel the current. I mean, it is actually flowing like a river. And of course, the second I go outside, it starts to rain again. Look at that. Huh. Wonder if the main street was flooded as well. I had no idea this was even possible here. This is crazy. I can really feel the current on my legs. There's like a swirling current with water going this way and this way. So there's kind of a whirlpool effect going on around my legs. Yeah, these guys are trying to put some water, some sandbags in place to stop the water flowing in there, but I don't think it's going to help much. Never does. All these sandbags, the water gets through anyway. Another cyclist making his way. I'd be very surprised if he can make it all the way. It gets way too deep around the corner. No way. That truck sending a wave in front of it. Look at that, the whole police department parking area is flooded. And here's the main street, or one of the two main streets. Bit of a low spot in the road, perhaps. The Mae Sot police station has its own private swimming pool now. This area in front is actually a large fish pond, but now you can't even see the pond. The entire yard is a giant lake. And those are some of the dogs that live at the police station. Looks like they had to find higher ground too. And this side street has turned into its own river. It's interesting, with the water you can get a sense of higher ground and lower ground, and all the water is flowing in that direction. So I guess the street is sloping downhill in that way. The water is even bubbling up from the water lines underneath, from the sewer lines. Like this guy is taking a chance. He knows what he's doing. He knows his scooter engine can handle it. And just up in this direction is where we get to the canal. So I'm curious how high the water level has gotten in the canal. Right on the main street there's a couple of shops. I pass them all the time. And they sell ponchos, rain boots, you know, hip waders, tarps, all that kind of thing. Whoa. And they never seem to have many customers, but they're doing a roaring business today. And here's a yard. It's also been flooded. The canal is just back in that direction. So this water might be coming from a canal overflow. You can see it flowing out of their yard like a river. And then heading down to the main street. Whoa. This has certainly never been this high before. It's reached right to the top and is flowing over the sides. Oh, and there's the canal up ahead. It is coming right over the top onto the street. Wow. I wonder how often this happens in Mae Sot. If it happens every decade, like once a decade, something like that. Are people prepared for it to a certain extent? I mean, certainly if you have a temple like that, it helps them out a lot that the main temple is raised up by 7 or 8 steps, right? That keeps the floodwater out. And maybe it was built that high up precisely because this could happen. I think they actually need people to be standing here in the water so that people who are coming in their scooters can tell based on where the water is on our legs, you know, how deep it is, and then they can make a judgment call about whether to try and make it through. I better get out of the way of this truck. I guess, look at the wave he's sending forward. That got me wet. I got my cell phone in my pocket like a dummy. But again, I never expected the water to be this high. I didn't even know there was a flood going on in Mae Sot. I was actually just leaving my room to go pick up some milk at 7-Eleven, and I walked out into flood Armageddon. Anyway, I better get this out of my pocket, put it in my knapsack. Yeah, that truck really got me with his bow wave. Oh, and here is the canal. Oh. That is incredible. It's almost like an illusion, because over here, that's where the street is. So the water there would only be maybe 7 or 8 inches deep. But over here, at the exact same height, that water's got to be 12 feet deep. I just hope the walls are strong enough to hold this in, because if the sides break down, all of this water would just go into the city all at once, and that would be a disaster. Look at that, how high it is. I'm really curious what it looks like over by the dam near my guest house, because it looked like it was even getting higher on the other side here. Just looking at that, you'd have no idea that this was a bridge. You can't even tell there's a bridge there. Almost makes you a little bit nervous crossing here. You just have to go on faith that the road is still there. Oh, look at that house over there. Oop. Better watch where I'm stepping. Ah, okay. This is a traditional house over here. And as a traditional home, it's built up on stilts. And they must be thinking now that they're very clever to stick with that style of construction. Look at the current here. You can really feel it trying to kind of take me off my feet. I have to keep firm grip on the ground. Yeah, the entire yard is flooded, 2 or 3 feet deep, but his house looks okay. Oh, it's actually hard to walk against this current. It's really strong. don't want to spend too much time on this bridge in case it suddenly gives way. I'm glad to see that somebody was smart enough to put up barriers at the far end there. There's no way anybody should drive down this road right now. They'll never make it through. They might think they can do it, but not anymore. Or I don't know, that pickup truck, the one that hit me with its bow wave, it seemed to make it through. I've come to this same place, I think 3 days in a row. And every day I went down the steps. I think at the beginning I could go down 7 or 8 steps, then 5 or 6, and now only 3 steps left. I need to have the brain of an engineer to calculate the volume flow here. It would be a very large number, the amount of water flowing down here. I wonder why they have only the 2 sides open. Maybe those sides can't open up at all? And it's only the pipes over there? I'm not sure. There's someone else across the canal taking some video with his phone, I think. When I was here the other day, I was commenting on the water level being below those pipes, and now it's over top of them. Starting to rain again. It's getting heavier actually, so I think I'm going to be heading back inside. I think that's enough for documenting the water levels in this neighborhood. That's pretty incredible. I wonder what it's like in other parts of Mae Sot, whether it's as bad as here or some places even worse. But I have the feeling that this area right here with this canal is kind of a low spot. So I think a lot of the water levels are the highest right in this neighborhood. I just noticed that car behind me was driving and it came to a sudden stop. And that's because we've got a blue bin here with the English word no on it, saying don't go that way. So very smart of someone. So here I am back on the street right in front of my guest house, Oh, and I guess everybody that had scooters. Whoa, look at this place. Again, lucky or smart, I guess both. All the buildings here are on stilts, so they're up above the water level. So, yeah, historically, I guess that's why they did it. And they know what the weather is like here. But these scooters, they had to move them out of there and get them to higher ground. I hope it didn't get much higher where my scooter was parked. And the rain's coming down hard. Oh boy, it's getting higher on my scooter. Maybe I better move it quickly. The flooding here has gotten worse since I left. But hopefully it hasn't gone as high as my room. We're okay. There's a bit of a lip here, and it hasn't gone above the lip, but back at the guest house still, and I've secured my room, made sure everything is safe from the flooding, and moved my scooter into a safe place. As you can see, all of the scooters that used to be parked here, their engines would have been flooded, and everybody, including me, moved them back here. So there's my scooter back there now, and it should be okay back there. There's no way the water is going to get any higher than that. And I left the key with my landlady. She said if I'm going out again, she'll keep an eye on it, and if the water levels start to go higher, she'll move it for me, or get her son to do it. I was going to go out again. It just started raining. Yeah, out here in front of the guest house, the water level is still up to my knees, but it isn't flowing like it was before. Before it was flowing like a river, and now it is slowed down quite a bit. A couple of things about situations like this. Like, for me personally, I'm always surprised at how casually I approach them. It's like when I left from the guest house to go, I was just going to go to 7-Eleven to buy milk, and I noticed there was a flood, so I wanted to go check out the flooding. And I should have, right at that point, moved my scooter to safety, but I didn't. I kind of looked at it, and the water level was okay. It hadn't reached the engine of the scooter. So I figured, okay, everything's fine. And then I just went wandering out into the city without even thinking that the water is probably going to go up another foot or so, right? It never even occurred to me. So I nearly ended up drowning the scooter because I was so casual. But luckily I got back in time and I managed to move it to safety. And the same thing with my room at the guest house. It never occurred to me that the flood could have gone into my room. I just wasn't even thinking about that. So I just went out without safeguarding anything. I could have had electronics and valuable items all over the floor. And if even, a few inches of water got in there, it could have destroyed all of that stuff. But I never even thought about it. The other thing that jumps out at me about situations like this, similar to big ice storms in Canada, you kind of meet your neighbors for the first time in a long time, because everybody goes outside, everybody's taking care of their house and their vehicles and their property, and you're meeting everyone on the street. And not only that, people are suddenly much more willing to make eye contact and engage with you. So in my walk around Mae Sot during this flood, I've had more people look at me and smile and wave in like 2 hours than in a year and a half of living here. Just, yeah, because a disaster like this breaks through that reserve, you know, and people are just much more willing to say hello and wave and make human contact. But yeah, I mean, this has been going on for a while, and look at my how deep the water is. This area is very, very flooded. What I want to do is go down to the second street over. There's 2 main streets in Mae Sot, and I want to look at the other one-way street and see if the water levels have risen there as well. Still coming up through the underground pipes though. So this is one of the main streets. As you can see, it's still flooded. Traffic just crawling along. And this street, leading by the Crua Canada restaurant, is turned into a river. I was just talking to Dave at the Crua restaurant, the owner and manager there, and he said this same kind of flooding happened about 8 years ago. So it's not uncommon here for something like this to happen. So right ahead of me there is the second one-way street, and it also looks to have a lot of water flowing along it. Whew. Some of these shops are like right on the edge, like that one right there. Those sandbags would actually help out keeping the water out of his shop. But now crossing the street here has a whole new a whole new meaning to it, a whole new challenge, like wading across a river. I guess another type of business here that would do well is kind of a hardware store. So here they're doing a good trade in bricks and sandbags. Oop, can't get that way. The one area I'm curious about is the main market area, because I think that might be one of the lowest parts of Mae Sot. So I want to walk this way and then head into the market. And the water is still flowing pretty strongly along the main street. This is the entrance into the market area, but it actually seems to be a bit raised up. It's this road that is channeling all the water. So maybe the market was spared, but I'm going to head down through there anyway, take a look around. Well, this is the main market area, and I guess I was wrong about this being a low-lying area, because it looks like it was pretty much untouched by the flooding. Yeah, there's been no flooding here at all. It makes me wonder where all that water was rushing to that was heading down the main streets, flowing along them like rivers. Rivers have to go somewhere. And they usually end in lakes and oceans, so somewhere out there there's a large amount of water collecting, but I don't know where it could be. I'm slowly working my way back towards my part of Mae Sot, and the closer I get, the flooding begins. I'm telling you, I really am something of a rain god. I attract rain and floods everywhere I go, it seems. It's certainly not uncommon in my life. I just happen to be staying in the one part of Mae Sot that routinely floods. So here we are, heading back into my part of the city. Kind of crazy that area around the market is so dry, and yet right here it's still deep enough to almost drown a scooter. One thing you have to be careful stepping off a curb, because you don't know how deep it is or whether there's a hole down there. Again, it's so weird fighting a current across the street. That over there, that's the street heading up to my guest house. And most of the water is still coming from right around there. Still flowing really fast. I thought it would have dropped down a lot more than this by now. So I'm back in my neighborhood, where of course the flood is the worst. You can just see the canal ahead of me there, and it's still right at street level. In fact, I think the water here is deeper than it was before. Yikes. If that's even possible. I remember from my time after the flood in the Philippines, one of the great ironies is that the whole city was practically destroyed by a storm surge from the ocean. The whole place was flooded, and then it rained nonstop for days after the flood itself. And yet, even though we were all drowning in water, one of the most difficult things was finding water to drink. So here I am, I'm wading through water. It's past my knees now, and of course, I'm carrying a jug of drinking water. You know, millions of gallons of water all around me. And what do? I go to the store and buy water, and I'm carrying it around. But yeah, look at these places over here. They are definitely flooded. Yeah, the water is definitely the highest it's been right here. Well above my knees. Seen a couple of scooters and a car go through here. I don't know how they made it. I wouldn't imagine you could make it through water this deep, but they did. See another scooter far ahead there coming down this road. He's okay where he is, but I'll be curious to see whether he attempts to go beyond the bridge. I wouldn't try it. Wonder if he'll look ahead and see how deep the water is on my legs and decide to turn around. I definitely would. Let's see what he does. I guess a little bit shallower on that side of the road. I guess my side is the deepest. He's still going. Just barely. Hello. Oh, he stalled out right at the very end. He didn't make it. He has to push it the rest of the way. I'm surprised he made it as far as he did, to be honest. Oh. Here's the strongest part of the current right here. Yeah, and the canal has not gone down at all. I'm really surprised at that. Something else surprises me now that I think about it. We had, not flooding like this in my home city in Canada, but after a heavy thunderstorm, like a unusually heavy one, we might have some flooding in the streets. If the sewers were clogged, there might be a foot of water, 6 inches, something like that. And the streets would be jammed with children playing in the water. The streets would be filled with kids jumping around and playing with boats and doing whatever they do in the water. I was out there as a kid, even while it was still raining. But here, I haven't seen any kids out on the streets in the floods playing in the water. None at all. And this is what it looks like right outside my guest house right now. This poor guy left his scooter here, so it's going to be a little bit hard to start, I think. And the water level has actually gone down quite a bit since the start of the flood. It was a few inches higher than this. And this is what it looks like at my guest house, also flooded. I don't quite know what to say in terms of epilogue or summary for that little experience. I certainly didn't wake up this morning thinking, you know, I'm going to go out and film Mae Sot as it gets completely flooded this morning. That's what I'm going to do today. I had no idea this was going to happen. But I think the flood has reached its peak, and now the water is starting to drop down, and I guess it'll take probably the rest of today and tonight for the water to go away. And then people whose homes have been flooded are going to have to clean up. Luckily, my room didn't get flooded, and my scooter was okay. So other than the garden here at the guest house, there wasn't a whole lot of damage done here. But yeah, that was quite an experience. Hope you enjoyed some of that footage. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.